Okay, page 90. Now this is the agreement that I get the seller to sign if I am going to stay in the deal. You see what it says at the top? Use this when you intend to lease and sublease. Do not use if you intend to assign. Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Well, you're a multi-use guy. You teach, you deliver coffee. Just a guy of multi-talents. Do not mix these up. And you notice at the top it says get signed in home or in front of the attorney. I'll tell you, you'd be well advised to get this signed in front of your attorney. I'm not telling you that you have to do that all the time, but if you can, that would be the place to get this signed. And now what you can do is you can leave it with the seller and then have them go down into the attorney and sign one in front of the attorney. But if you're afraid you're going to lose the deal, why don't you get it signed and then maybe have it re-signed in front of an attorney when you put your buyer in there, just for safety's sakes. Is it always a good idea if this is signed in front of your attorney, especially when it's a long-term deal and you're staying in it for a long time? What am I worried about when you're leasing and you intend to stay in the deal? What am I worrying about? That's right. I'm worried about the seller getting lapse of memory on you. Do sometimes people forget about the situation they were in when they made a decision 4 years ago, and now 4 years later they decide, well, I wished I hadn't done that. I think I'm going to get some of that money he's going to make. Does greed set in? Okay. And what I'm telling you is you should go into any transaction, real estate or other, assuming you're going to wind up in court and preparing for you to do so. And if you keep that at the top of your mind, which I do, then the more attorney involvement I get in these documents, the less I'm going to be concerned about that. And if I ever did go to court, the less I'm going to be concerned about that. Because your case is going to be a lot stronger if this is signed in front of an attorney than if it's signed in their living room table. I can tell you that for sure. Now, if there's a lot of equity in it, I'm going to almost insist that you get your attorney involved. But if you got a $200,000 house and they owe $180,000, I don't know, up to you. But remember, guys, if I go in there and I get a long-term lease, remember, I don't owe $180,000 10 years from now. And that's when the greed's really going to set in. When they can see all that loan paid down and you're about to get a windfall and now they got to sign the deed and deliver it. Well, I want some of that money. I deserve it. You really? Well, you weren't the one making the payments for the last 10 years. Yeah, but I own the house. Can you see it? All right, well, fix it. What can go wrong and what can I do now to fix it? That's a writer-downer. What can go wrong? What can I do now to fix it? What can go wrong? Seller could get Yancey on me. What can I do now? Get it in writing in front of an attorney. Okay. You know that you guys all operate under the prostitute theory. Everybody know what the prostitute theory is? I mean, the value of your services diminish rapidly after they've been delivered. You think about that for a moment. All right. All right, on page 90. Standard stuff at the top. Paragraph 2, we talk about the term, pretty easily laid out there. In this example in your book, now read this carefully, it says that we're only leasing it for 12 months, does it not? All right, but then read the second line. The term will automatically extend for 4 periods of 12 months unless the tenant buyer gives notice to the landlord of its intent to terminate. Now, why do you think it automatically extends? Because it used to say that we got to give notice to the seller to extend it, and then students go out there and they forget to give the notice. Okay? So I fixed it, so you can't screw it up. It automatically extends. It doesn't require you to do anything. So in effect, what do you got here? Have you got a 1-year lease or a 5-year lease? Yes. You have both. You can get out at one or you can stay in as long as you want. to you. So even if I sign it up here as ABC Corporation that owns nothing but air, after a year, the ABC Corp is not even responsible for the payments anymore. If I give the seller notice that I'm out, I can get out any time I want. And built right in there. And then it says that the liability for payment will not extend beyond notice to terminate this agreement. You are welcome. Number 3, rent. Very simple. The sum of $9.72 a month, and it begins on 8/10/13. Please note that this agreement is signed June of 13. So I've got myself 2 or 3 months before the first payment's due, just because I put it in there when the payment will begin. Also notice that below that it says that there's $200 for each month will be in which of the rent will be credited toward the purchase price. Now, guys, that only is applicable if the seller's got equity above their debt. So if they owe $170 and I'm leasing it for $170, I don't get a credit toward the purchase price, do I? Hello? There's nothing to apply the credit to. I'm leasing it for the loan balance at the time I purchase it. That's my purchase price. The seller can't give me any additional credit. They don't have anything to give me. However, if I'm leasing it for, let's say I'm optioning it for $20,000 above the loan, and I've got a 5-year lease. Now can I ask for a credit toward my $20,000 if I want to? You guys getting this? You don't look like you're getting it, huh? Yeah? Okay. Let's say my agreement with the seller is I'll lease option the property for $20,000 plus your loan balance at the time I purchase it. Now I could say, okay, I want a $200 a month credit toward that $20,000 I owe you for every month I make you a payment. Or a $100 a month credit, or some credit, whatever. I'm plucking it from air anyway, aren't I? Aren't I? Whatever I put in here, if the seller agrees to it, I just got that much off of the 20 grand that I owe them when we do cash out. Make sense? All right. The next paragraph. Now notice that the option to purchase is built into my lease agreement because I am buying. It is not built in when I am selling. It is totally separated. We'll get to that this afternoon. Rest of it, mumbo jumbo all the way down. You can skip nothing exciting down there to the bottom of the page. Turn the page, and let's go to paragraph number 8, where it talks about cost of improvements. Now remember now, this is the agreement that I'm leasing it from the seller with the intent to sandwich lease it to a buyer. Make sure everybody's with me on this. I do not intend to assign this agreement. This agreement is designed to protect you, not your tenant buyer, you from the seller. Cost of improvements. In the event the tenant buyer exercises the option to purchase, set forth above and 4, and through no fault of the tenant buyer, the landlord fails to convey said property to the tenant buyer, yada, yada, yada. The tenant buyer is responsible for reimbursing you for all of your cost of repairs and maintenance and improvements, in addition to other legal remedies that you have. Number 9 lays out any encumbrances that are on the property. And in my example, it shows that there's a $108,500 loan, and that taxes and insurance are escrowed, but there's a $5,000 IRS tax lien on the property. Therefore, it is disclosed in our agreement that I know there's an IRS tax lien on the property. Plus, in a minute, you'll see that I've agreed to pay that IRS tax lien when I actually purchase the property. And I agree to pay whatever is left on the loan balance when I purchase the property. Skip down to number 10 where it says the right of assignment. It means that I have the right to assign this agreement. I do not need their permission. You will not find that in the other one where I'm selling. And on number 11, this one we got to look at because this is the one that deals with maintenance and repairs. It says that the tenant buyer, that's you now, accepts the property as is on the date of execution of this agreement, except for items listed in paragraph 13, which is we'll get to, which is what they're going to do before you take over. The tenant shall henceforth be responsible for all maintenance and improvements as tenant shall deem necessary, proper, or desirable. Tenant meaning you. The tenant shall be solely liable for payment of said improvements and shall hold the landlord harmless except any electric, plumbing, heating, or cooling system that is out of order or any repairs exceeding blank. You could put $100 in there if you want to. At the commencement of this lease, within 30 days thereafter, will be repaired by the seller. That means any repairs over whatever number you put in there, seller pays for in the first 30 days. If the landlord cannot or will not make the repairs necessary, the tenant will have the option of either voiding the agreement or payments due to the seller or making such repairs, and A, receiving reimbursement from the next monthly payment of rent. So if you have to fix something and they can't pay for it, you have the right to take it right out of the rent, or you can receive a credit against the purchase price and 10% interest. Now, which one do you think I would do? Yeah, it'd come right out of next month's rent, wouldn't you think? All right, move over to paragraph 13 on the next page. This is where you list anything the seller agrees to do. Anything that the seller agrees to do. Here it says painting the living room. They agree to paint their living room before you take over. And guys, we do this quite often. In fact, I think I did it on the video that I created for the axe thing that I did with Scott. The seller agreed to paint a couple of rooms and fix some doors, and I put that right on the video. And hey, what do you got to lose by asking? Listen to this. Here's the pitch. Listen, I'm going to find a tenant buyer for this place, and you know you're not going to collect rent till I do. So it behoove you if we get it in as good a shape as possible so we can show it. So can you get this living room painted? Can you get these doors fixed? Can you get this fixed? Can you get that fixed? And quite often they'll say, yeah, we'll do that. In fact, I told this gal on that video, you got to get this place cleaned up. You got to get the junk out of here. And she did. She did. It took her a couple of weeks, but she did. She got the house cleaned up. She got the junk out of it. She was fully aware she couldn't sell it like that. She was fully aware it needed this stuff. She pointed out to us. And she did the stuff. And we lease optioned the house out for her. And that tenant's living in there today. And I think we got $5,000 out of that deal. I don't remember. So don't be afraid to ask them to do this minor stuff. They know it needs done anyway. All right, 13B talks about a title search. It says that you're going to do a title search, and if there's title problems, that the seller will pay for the title search. What it says. Guys, we have a guy here in Jacksonville that we found. I forgot where we found him. I think we found him at the courthouse sometime doing title searches for somebody else. And he does our title searches. In fact, if you need him, Rick, you let me know. He does our title searches for $55. So he not title policy now, just title search. He creates an abstract, which is just an abstract is just a written record of everything that's recorded on the house. And at the end, he gives us an opinion on what he sees that needs to be fixed, if anything. So for $55, we get a title search, plus we get something to put in the file to have there, to use if we ever needed it. And you need to do the same thing. Find somebody who will do cheap title searches for you, probably not your title company, unless you can cut a deal with them. A title search is nothing but a little bit of manpower. There's no cost in it, it's a little bit of manpower. And it doesn't take that long to do a title search. So don't be paying out the nose because somebody wants to get rich off of you doing title searches. He charges, I think, $65 normally. We got him down to $55 because we're going to do quite a few of them. And that's a price I'm willing to pay. It's the cost of doing business. Let's see. Let's go down to 14 because this is the big one. Number 14 deals with the price and the terms of the option. The tenant buyer agrees to pay for said property the sum of star. There's a star in the blank because down at the bottom of the page is where we identify the purchase price. we put a star there, we have to put a star down at the bottom so that the reader can see that that star matches the one above, and that the intent is that that line is to be inserted in that blank. And it says that the purchase price equals the loan balance plus 10. I want you to put in there at time of closing, if you will make said note. The purchase price equals the loan balance at the time of closing plus $10,000 cash, because that's the deal we made, plus pay off the IRS lien, but the total is not to exceed $123,500. Now, is the total going to come anywhere close to $123,500? Turn back a page. What's the loan balance on the house? $108,500 plus $10,000 makes $118,500 plus $5,000 IRS lien makes $123,500. Everybody understand that? Hello? But of those three, which one goes down every single time a rent payment is paid? The loan balance. So I just put the not to exceed the $123,500 for safety's sake, since in case something weird happens. Maybe another lien pops up or something. So everybody see how I identified the purchase price? Very simply. It's the loan balance plus whatever cash I agreed to pay you, plus whatever lien we know is on the house that I agreed to take over. By the way, if I do pay off that IRS lien, am I going to pay $5,000? No, I'm going to try to go get a discount. Okay. Let's move on down then. On page 15, this is where you get all the goodies. This is where we're going to take a break in a minute. I forgot, you guys have been here over 2 hours now, haven't you? Okay. Let me get through this and we'll take a break, all right? This is where you write in the goodies. I've got washer and dryer in here because you'll notice the line above it, the Ranger refrigerator, is built right into the language. So you don't need to write that in there. I just assume Ranger and refrigerator comes with every house, don't you? It should, when I'm buying. It should. Comes with every house. So I just leave it in there. And if there's a washer and dryer, you write that. If there's a John Deere tractor in the garage, you write that in there. If there's patio furniture out there, you write that in there. If the seller wants to leave, the whole house full of furniture, I tell them point blank, hey, look, if you're moving, you do not have to move this stuff if you do not want to. Leave your furniture, we'll handle it. Will you do that? Yeah, we'll do that for you. Yeah. And believe me, many times they will leave the whole house full of stuff. The whole house full of stuff, which you use sometimes to stage. Sometimes your wife comes and gets it, guys. When you come to my house, I promise you, this is true. All the patio furniture on my patio came out of somebody else's house. It did. And the riding lawnmower that we use on my 10-acre property came out of somebody else's house. It did, honestly. So write in there whatever you see. And don't be afraid to write it in there. So worst case, they say, no, I can't leave that. Well, okay, we'll cross that out. Okay, down in paragraph 17, it just basically says that you're going to notify them when you're ready to close, and the rest of it is just kind of self-explanatory stuff. Now, on 18, though, it talks about prorations. It's the standard proration stuff. Taxes will be prorated at closing. And paragraph 19 talks about insurance. And I believe it says in there that they are to name you as additional insured, but I can tell you right now I have never had a seller do that in my life, and just ain't that important to me. But I think it says that you also have the rights. Yeah, in the event of loss or destruction in whole or in part of said property, the tenant buyer shall have the option to proceed with the closing and accept the insurance proceeds for said damages, or to declare the lease option null and void, releasing both parties from any obligations hereinafter except for the return of reimbursable expenses. So you get paid back those at the very least. Guys, if you have a fire in a house, the first thing that's going to get paid off is the loan, so there probably ain't nothing left for you anyway, especially in today's world where the loans equal such a high degree of the purchase price. And on insurance, some people are under the mistaken impression that when you have a fire, the bank has to release the money to you to rebuild your house. you probably should go read your mortgage. The bank has the right to suck up that money. They do not have to sign that check for you. They have the right to apply that entire check to that mortgage balance, just so you'll know. They do not have to give you the money to fix the house. And I'll tell you right now, if you're having any issues with them, you're behind on your payments, or you're a pain in the neck, or they're in a bad mood, they very well may claim rights to that money and not release it to you. So you're stuck with you're stuck with a paid-off house, but it's burnt to the ground. You know, I guess you have to find another place to live. So also, some people are under the mistaken impression that if the bank puts insurance on your house for you, that it insures you. If a bank places insurance policy on your house, you get not one nickel if it burns to the ground. They're buying mortgagee insurance. They're buying insurance to protect themselves only and not you. So never let a bank put a policy on your house. Not to mention it'll cost you probably twice as much as if you put your own on there. Never let a bank force place insurance on your property. It does not protect you. You will not get 1 red cent.